Hi, my name's Adam, and today I'm going to be looking at Chasing Adventure. This is part of my ongoing video series, finding my next favorite tabletop role-playing game, because I've fallen out of love with games I've played in the past and I'm looking for something new. I've got my own criteria of what I'm looking for in a new game, but first I'm going to just go over what the game is like, and then I'll give my opinion. So, Chasing Adventure is a Powered by the Apocalypse game with a fantasy feel. I think somewhere along the lines I read that it's what Dungeon World might have been. So everything that the players do that has an element of risk and there's a chance that they might not succeed, that's called a move. It's sort of triggered whenever the players do anything risky or dangerous or tense, and then they just find the appropriate move from the robust selection out there and then see what they have to roll and what the outcome might be. You always roll 2d6 and add modifiers. If you get a 7 to 9, so sort of that middle bit, then it's a partial success. A 10 or higher is a higher success, so without any complications or setbacks. And then anything below a 6 is a failure. Just like D&D, there are character stats, but there are 5. There's no constitution, but the other ones are very familiar. Strength, dexterity, wisdom, intelligence, charisma. There are no scores this time, it's just a number, so it might be -1, it might be +2, it might be +0. And like D&D, there's advantage and disadvantage, but instead of rolling a 20-sided die twice, you roll your 2d6 but add another d6 to it and then take the 2 highest, or 2 lowest. The GM pretty much never rolls, so there's that. I was pleased to see there is a robust safety tools section. When you get failures that might endanger your character, you start to get negative effects. They are like conditions. Each condition is assigned to one of your 5 stats. And when all 5 stats have a condition, you crumble. Crumbling is not dying. It could be dying if you wanted to, but to crumble permanently changes your character. One of those changes could be death, which means you could just get to start over. But another might be you have a permanent injury, or you're scarred emotionally some way, something like that. And it's kind of up to you and the GM to determine what exactly crumbling looks like for your character. The nice thing about wearing armor, if you wear armor in this game, is that it can take one of those conditions instead of you. So it's kind of like adding another stat. Instead of you taking 5 conditions, you can take 6. You can level up in this game. It's actually its own move, and you get it when you accrue 5 experience points. How do you get experience points? Well, you get 1 experience point every time you roll a stat with a condition. So if you're rolling sort of with a disadvantage on you, or you answer yes to a question at the end of the session. There's this kind of end of the session move that you can take, and then there's like 2 or 3 questions. And if you answer any of them with a yes, then you get a point. In this game, you can gain followers. They have their own moves. They have descriptor tags. And there are also items with their own descriptor tags as well. Wealth is abstracted. It's just a simple number. So it's kind of like, can you buy this? Well, if your wealth is 5 or higher, or 3 or higher, or whatever the case might be. Instead of classes, there are playbooks. There is no warlock or monk, unlike D&D, but there is a new playbook called an immolator, and besides that, it's kind of what you would expect. You've got your wizard, you've got your fighter, etc. Each playbook provides choices among starting moves, and then provides also background options. You can choose from one of several backgrounds for each playbook. I think this game could potentially be player driven. The players move the story forward. But in the flowchart that I saw in the book, it's the GM who makes the first move. And moves for the GM are very different. It's not like, do I want to attack? Do I want to search the area? It's like moving the villains and antagonistic forces forward. And how does that appear in the world? So will Chasing Adventure be my next favorite tabletop role-playing game? I think I'm starting to move away from Powered by the Apocalypse games. I'm not sure, it's totally subjective. I don't even have a good reason for it, but it just doesn't have the same appeal. And I think it's because they're a little bit too simple for me. I do want something that's simpler than D&D 5th edition, but Powered by the Apocalypse game seems to go too far the other direction, and I'm looking for something sort of between, where there is actually a character build process, but it feels a little bit more robust than this. Yeah, and I also kind of think that having just three categories, partial success, success, and failure, even though that improves upon the D&D Pathfinder of that binary of just success or failure, I think you can actually even make it better than that. So I'm kind of still looking, and that's okay. This might be perfect for you if you've never played a Powered by the Apocalypse game. I recommend trying one out, and I think this one is a good foray into that, especially if you're coming to it from D&D or Pathfinder, another sort of high adventure, epic fantasy kind of game world or game style. But as for me, I'm going to keep looking for my next favorite tabletop role-playing game.